Sup Anonymous, it's me, Ice15, and today I have something, it's like real special to my heart. I'm actually excited, like so excited. I am going to like bet you money that this is going to be like, for at least a while, one of my favorite videos ever to film. So I've seen quite a lot of people do this, or at least a few people, and I'm sure that more and more other people have also filmed this, but I'm like really into ghosts. Like, I firmly believe in ghosts. Yes, I will still think of like the logical possibilities before I immediately go, oh my god, it's ghosts. But I do believe in ghosts. Like, firmly believe in ghosts. And I really like hearing other people's ghost stories, and I really like when people make videos like that. So today, I'm gonna show you some ghost stories. Alright. And I'm gonna tell you some of mine. Some of mine aren't necessarily like the scariest of all things, but they're still ghost stories. And some of them I'm not quite sure if they're actually ghosts, but the coincidences in it are still really freaky. I'm also gonna get some other friends, coworkers, and such to tell you some of their experiences because I find this really interesting. But before we get started, we need to do one thing. Do you know what that is? We need to turn off the lights. Immersion. Immersion. Okay. Ooh, okay. I'm excited. Okay. So I have my phone right here because I didn't want to forget about these stories. So I have notes here. Alright. So we're going to start with my very, very first ghost story that I ever have. And if none of the rest of my ghost stories are something that you can really consider like an actual spiritual thing, I consider this one. So I was probably about like 4 or 5, and I was staying at my grandparents' house because my parents just sort of wanted like a little date night, you know. And I done spent so much time there, and it got to a point where I had to go to bed. And this was by the time where I was still sort of scared of the dark at this age, but they'd finally gotten a nightlight, so therefore I was fine. So at this point, they had actually been able to close the door instead of leaving the door a tad bit open. And I was lying in the bed on the right side of my body, like my whole right side was on the side here, and I was lying down, I was falling asleep, and I wasn't like quite asleep yet because I was a very energetic kid, so to try to turn my brain off was really difficult, but I was getting there. And I want to preface this by saying the door was closed. They had a nightlight on, so I didn't need the door open anymore. So the door was closed. There was no fans in the room. There was a window in the room, but the window was closed, and even if the window was open, the blinds would have been moving, and the blinds weren't moving. So the window was closed, and there was a heater in the room, but it was off. And as far as I remember, I didn't move. So I'm laying there on the side of my head, like this, like literally laying like this, right? See, okay, this is important. See how my hair just moved? See that? So I was lying like this, and my bangs were in my face, right? Because you're lying, and you know this shit happens because gravity. And suddenly my hair very, very slowly goes like this, and I had like that fucking bowl cut bangs as a kid. It very slowly, I can't do it while I'm on sideways right now because gravity doesn't work that way, but my hair very slowly does this. Like, it literally goes, like my bangs go out of my face and behind my ear, like I just did, and I freaked the fuck out, man. Like, I was not okay with this. My 4 or 5-year-old brain was like, that's not okay. It felt like someone was touching me. My hair shouldn't have moved like that. So I ran over to my grandparents' room, and I was like, didn't really know how to explain it. I was like 4 or 5, and my grandma tells me to calm down, and then she says that there is something in my room, or someone in my room, but they're not gonna hurt me. And I looked at her really confused, and she like straight up told me that her grandmother, who raised her as a child, was the one that did that. That she couldn't stand, or really loved or whatever, smoothing the bangs out of her child's, her children, grandchildren's faces. So that's just what she did, is that she was just fixing my hair. But I was gonna be fine. And I was really small, right? So I believed her and I went to bed. And then I got a little older and I was like, did she just say that to get me to go back to sleep? Because it was probably midnight. But when you really think about it, that's super illogical. Everything was closed. There was no source of blowing air into the room. And even if there had been something, the window was on the very end of the room, this direction. So by lying on my head like this, the window would have gone this way. And if it had been in front of my face for whatever reason, my hair would have split in half and done this, right? And if I had moved, if my little body had moved, my hair would have went downwards because I was laying like this. Because you see, when I naturally do this, my hair does that, right? So it's not normal for it to just go like this. And not only that, but if it had been wind, it wouldn't have went behind my ear like this. It would have just been you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's still, to this day, it's completely illogical for my hair to move like that. So to this day, I believe that my grandmother's grandmother, so my great-grandmother, had fixed my hair. However, as far as I remember, she hasn't done it again since. I don't know why. Here's a really, really mundane one. Me and my friend Molly, I think we were in science class, and we're sitting there in our side-by-side desks, and I look over, and those little strings to do this, so then the blinds go up and down and all that stuff, they were moving, right? But they weren't blowing in the wind, moving because the window was open. Or as if the window was open. It was moving legit like this, like a pendulum. And I was looking over and I was like, is that normal? And so I tapped her shoulder and I was like, do you see that? And she was like, yeah, that's so weird. And then as soon as it started it moved a little bit faster, but then it was whoever was doing it noticed that we were watching, and then it just dropped limp, it had never moved. But we both saw it, we both saw it move like a pendulum. So I was really confused, and someone was like, well, why would you think a ghost would be in your high school? Because my high school is fairly new in my town. And I said, well, I mean, you gotta remember, our high school was built directly next to a cemetery. Why they would do that, I don't know, but it's directly next to a cemetery, so I would not even question a little spirit from the cemetery coming up to mess with us. It's possible. It's totally possible, man. But yeah. Now I have two more. I don't know if you would count these as ghost stories because they're dreams that I had, but the coincidences that come with the dreams are very freaky to me. So the first one I have is that I had this dream one time. It was about a couple of days before my boyfriend was going to come to my house and stay the night. And it was summertime. And I had a little context. My boyfriend, unfortunately, as many other people I have around me, experienced a loss in which one of their very best friends got hit by a train. And it's actually really sad, and I kind of wish I had met them, but I didn't know this person. I saw him once walking into the school, but that was about it. And I had this dream where I'm not gonna go too in depth, but I had this dream where I had this secret room in my house, and I was mad or scared about something that was happening, and I went into the room, and my boyfriend's best friend that had passed away was standing in the room, and turned around, and I jumped, and I was like, holy shit, you scared the crap out of me, don't do that. And he's like, why not, it's fun. And then he started talking to me, and he started telling me things like that he was happy that I was there for my boyfriend because he no longer could be, and all these things, and it felt so real. Then later, other shit happened, and it didn't feel as real, but when he was talking to me, it felt genuinely real. And he was telling me all this stuff to tell my boyfriend and all these things. And then, like, literally like a night or two after, my boyfriend came over. He'd spent the night, and the next day, he got really, really sad. And he didn't know why he couldn't sleep that night. He didn't know why he was sad. And then he looked at his phone, and then he put his phone down, and he looked at me, and he was like, I think I know why I couldn't sleep. And I said, why not? And he said, because it's the anniversary of my friend's death. And it freaked the fuck out of me. Because, one, it was literally his friend, right literally a day or two before the anniversary of his death, coming up and talking to me about my boyfriend right before I was going to see my boyfriend. And I told him, like, I didn't tell him directly that I'd had the dream right away, but I did tell him the things that he had said in my dream to an extent, but I just sort of mumbled them. You know, like, oh, do you think he would be happy, you know, that I'm here for you because, you know, he can't be anymore? Or do you think, you know, like, I just started talking about these things to try to, like, comfort him without saying that he literally said them to me. Like, to this day, that felt so insanely real, and all the things, like, puzzled up, like, matched each other. Like, he was really trying to talk to me. I got confused because why couldn't he talk to Zach, which is my boyfriend? But I'm now wondering if just for whatever reason he couldn't, or maybe it was too hard. I don't really know, but it was insanely real. Another dream I had like that was, it was so unreal at first until this kid in my dream was like, hey, we should go find a ghost. And there was this house we went to, and it was kind of all beaten down and gross, and then there was pajamas there, and they told me to touch the pajamas and see if I could talk to a ghost, which sounds really insane, but bear with me here. I touched the pajamas, and suddenly I was experiencing and, like, watching this little, like, 3-year-old girl die. They're in the house, and they're in the patio of the house, and they have a little park and shit, in their backyard, you know, for the kids to play in, you know, slides and stuff. And the parents and everything are not paying attention to the child right now. And they're talking to a bunch of their friends, and the little girl is going to go down the slide. And suddenly this gigantic wave just comes in and rushes into the house and starts wrecking everything. And this little girl is like 3, she can't swim, and she starts, like, going under, and she hits her head really hard on the fence of their house and, like, drops dead. And then it starts to replay, and as I'm watching it, I hold her hand and I tell her, like, help me help you, I want to help you, I don't want you to die, because I was so distraught by watching this 3-year-old girl die. And she turns to me and she says, if you really want to help me, like, I'm already dead, like, you can't. But she's like, she tells me to not let, like, to stop her parents from trying to find something that's not there, which leads, like, the way she said it leads me to believe that her parents are trying to still find her body, like, to this day believes that she's alive, but she's not. And again, it made no sense, right? Like, why in the fuck would, like, a big wave come crashing and kill everyone? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But then the next morning, after I had this, like, big nightmare, I told my dad, and my dad went, you know how weird that is? I'm like, why is it weird? And he goes, because do you know what today is? And I went, what's today? And he's like, the anniversary of the tsunami. And I didn't know that. Like, I swear on my mama, I swear on Jesus that I did not know that. And so to have a dream of this little girl getting killed by a wave that comes in from fucking nowhere, it boggles me. But if that is real and she really was trying to talk to me, that was so far away from where I live. Like, there's no way I would know her parents and be able to help her. And that sad to me because I would love to help that little girl and help her parents and give them closure, but it's not like I can. And even if I could, it's not like, you know, that's a normal thing to do, to go up to someone's parents and be like, so I dreamt of your daughter and like she dead. Anyways, that's the ghost stories that I have for you. I don't know how good they were, but that's what I have. But we are gonna get some other people. I'm so excited. We're gonna get some other people and we're gonna listen to their ghost stories. I'm excited. Are you excited? Yeah. Let's go.
Like, I was at home just chilling. Like, I was legit just watching movies, and then like I go outside, and then like 5 doors slash all the doors in the house just slammed, and all the doors were closed, and I legit jumped. Like, I legit jumped, and then after I ran outside just screaming, holy fuck.
Screaming your ass off.
I was, because like I was terrified. I was like, what the fuck was that? And then after I walk in, no windows were open. Everywhere was dark inside because it was nighttime. And I believe I woke up my next door neighbors. But yeah, and then like I just got terrified after that. And then I asked someone to come over, and then it happened again, but it was the downstairs. Both of them slammed shut, and then after, when we went down there, the rooms were all fucking messed up. Like, my bed was flipped over. I freaked out. And then like we walked upstairs after we cleaned up everything. Well, we tried to, at least. We got too lazy after that. And then we heard the water started going, and I started like to freak out. I was like, I'm not gonna die tonight, ain't I? And then after, like, I was just freaking out because like everything was just messing up. All the doors were slamming and like all that. And the funniest, like, apparently horror story that my mom says that it is, she was I was playing games, listening to music, cleaning up, and then after Sus started barking in the living room, staring at something when there was nothing on, because I was watching music, playing games and all that downstairs, and I was like kind of scared because Sus was like just standing in that position when, like, you know how dogs are when they're mad and all that. He was standing in that position, like just barking and like growling at something. I walked there, he got scared, and then after he went to go crawl under something, and I was just like, that's like me whenever I'm watching a horror story. And then after like that happened, then I was walking upstairs because I needed the washroom like usual, and then after Sus started doing it again, and then I freaked out, and then after I said, if anybody's here, turn off the lights, and all the lights flickered off. And then after I freaked out, I was like, oh god, turn them back on. Nothing happened except a really big slam, and now she's like, oh shit. Run down, went to go turn on the lights, and then after Sus was literally sitting by the door, just like screaming, like, not screaming, but like, you know how dogs like get scared and all that. That happened, and then after I was just like, freaking out. And then again I asked someone to come up, but this time instead of the waters going on and the downstairs freaking out, the lights turned off. We heard doors slamming. We went outside, the door slammed in front of our face, and then we like just chilled out there for an hour. We went back in, and then after, like, everything was perfect. Then there was my room again. Bed flipped over, TV was on the floor, mace didn't break. My couches were like all, and there was like a scratch on my old couch. Like, there were scratches on my old couch, and I was just like, oh shit, I'm gonna die, ain't I? And then after, my mom, like, apparently, like, that person who blesses stuff came over to bless the house. Nothing has really happened except water has been going on by itself. Some doors have slammed and all that. Now there's like, really, for me, it just still creeps me out because I'm scared if like one day I'll be home alone again, and then next thing later, I'll be in my room while everything's happening.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. This took place in my friend's Moose Lodge on the south side, BC, South Bank. It's known to have crazy paranormal activity, so I decided to bring my laptop in there and start filming. And what I found is pretty fucked up. Anyways, it was a mass that walked across the screen and created the most humongous shadow, and we tried to recreate it in all these different ways, and we could not explain it. It was so creepy. And then this one other time, second story, I lied. I was there and I went to the washroom and I closed the door and I got ready and I like turned around and the door was wide open and I did not hear it open at all, and I was like, what the fuck? So I didn't go to the washroom and I just suffered for the whole night because I was terrified.
Sometime in November, I remember my grandma and my mom sharing ghost stories of multiple things, like this woman going into the car that near the place that she passed away a little bit ago from drowning, I believe, at the river there. And then also a shadow entering the taxi, and then stories about people, dead people from hospitals. And it's mostly my grandmother's stories because she remembers a lot of things like that. There's this one that scared me the most. It was about her father, my great grandfather, how my grandpa, her husband, one time he was just sleeping, and then somebody in his dream would like choking him and told him that if he ever hit my grandma again, he would choke him to death. And then he woke up out of his sleep terrified, and then he was asking my grandma what his dad looked like. He's like, did your dad to wear a suit? And then she was like, yes. And then he asked her, was your dad tall, very tall? And then she's like, yes. And then he asked her one last time, did your dad limp? And then she was like, yes, but he barely knew her dad. I don't think actually he's met him before. And then he said that your dad almost choked me in my sleep. And she didn't believe him until he pointed out a shadow making its way to their door, and she saw it, then she believed it. And then I remember going to bed after she told me that because I was really scared, and my dad came home. And then I was in my bed and it's like my light was on, my little night light, because I was too scared to turn it off that night. And then as I was about to sleep, that's what I saw, a man making its way across my wall. I was absolutely terrified. Just laid under my sheet, and I just laid there with my stuffy. I was terrified of him, even though I didn't know him. But the fact that he could choke my grandfather in his sleep was very terrifying to me.
So, one time, I was hanging out with my sister, and we were up in her room, and we were sitting on her bed, and we were all just bullshitting, laughing our asses off, having a good-ass time, you know? And then my cat comes in or whatever. He's all chill. He comes in, purring and shit. But then he, like, sits on the end of the bed, and he'll be like, he started to growl or whatever, and like really intensely just growling and staring at the closet, and yeah, and then so he like jumped off the bed and ran into the closet, and he was like rustling around in there making big noises, and then all of a sudden we heard a big bang as if he like attacked something, and then like a music box started playing, and then we like screamed our faces off and ran downstairs. I was about 5, and I had this closet room that had a big it had like a skylight box in it, and so it was covered in drywall, and so it just looked like a random box in the middle of the room that went from floor to ceiling or whatever. It was rectangular, and one night I was curious because like I heard things in there during the nighttime. It was weird, even though there's no bottom to hold anything in there. It's weird. Anyways, so like I knocked on the thing because I heard people in there or whatever, even though no one could be in there. So I knocked on it, and then there was nothing. So I laid back down in my bed, and then the exact same knock came back from the wall. It was pretty fucking scary.
So when I was like in grade 3 or 4, I went to my friend's grandma's house, and we've been friends for like a long time already, and we were like upstairs in like the back room, and the door was like open, and we were just talking, and then she told me like about her like imaginary friend and like how our grandma's house is haunted, and like as that was going on, like the door closed all the way, and also either when you're downstairs, like in the basement, you could like hear noises as well, and throughout the house you could hear noises. I don't know. And also at my house, at my old house, you could like hear footsteps, and in this house as well.
So probably like a year ago now, me and my sister, we were staying home by ourselves, and my parents had gone to Prince George for the weekend. It was pretty great, and it was like 4 a.m, and I was just sitting in my room watching makeup tutorials because that's all I do with my life. And I heard the front door open and close, and I was like, I'm going to die. I thought it was a murderer, so I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, so I kind of just laid like awkwardly in my bed. And then I heard like footsteps coming towards my bedroom, and I was just kind of like there, and I was just really freaked out. And then they just stopped. So I laid there probably for close to like 20 minutes, and then nothing happened, so I decided that I was gonna go downstairs to see if I could figure out what the heck was happening. And I walked out of my bedroom, and like in my house, it's like there's a bedroom, and beside my room is my sister's, and then there's just the living room. And there was nothing there, so I went down the stairs. And when I got to like the second landing of the staircase, I seen what looked like a man sitting in a chair. And I kind of didn't know what to do, so I kind of just stared in like shock for a few minutes. And then I got really freaked out, and I ran back upstairs, and I woke my sister up, and I was screaming, and I was like, sorry, I was like really out of breath, and I didn't know what to do. And she was like, there's no ghost, you're just imagining things because you're up late and you're so out of it. And I'm like, no, there's something in the house. Like, it's either there's an actual man sitting in our house or there's a ghost in our house. And she's like, no, there's not. So she went downstairs, and she went and she looked, and she was like, there's nothing there. And I'm like, Hannah, there's something there. Like, you need to go and look harder. And she's like, there's nothing there. And I went back downstairs, and it was gone, and there was no man, but there was a book still sitting on that chair where I thought I seen a person holding a book. And I was just like, okay. So once I finally went back to sleep, I probably slept from like, because like it took me a while to fall back asleep after that, so it's probably like 5 by the time I fell asleep. And then I slept until like 10 that next morning, and then everything was fine until then. And then that following night I was kind of afraid to go back to sleep, so I sat downstairs in the living room down there, and I was watching a movie, and all of a sudden my dog started barking at like absolutely nothing. There was nothing there, and he just started barking. And I was like, shut up, like what the heck's your issue? Like, shush, I'm trying to watch this. And he just kept barking. So I tried to go over to him and be like, dude, what's your issue? And he started barking, like there's a corner, like we have a pair of sliding doors, and then there's like a corner, and then the TV's on the other side of the room. He was barking in that corner. So finally he like calmed down, and I went back upstairs to go back to sleep. and I started to hear footsteps again, and my dog started freaking out again, and it was pretty freaky. And I went to go open my door again, and there was nothing there. And I kind of assumed it was just a ghost, and I didn't really know what else to do, so I just tried to go back to sleep. And I could still hear things, and it sounded like there was scratching at my door, because I slept with my door closed, which was unusual, because usually I sleep with it open, but I felt uncomfortable considering that the night before there was something walking around upstairs, or what I thought was walking around upstairs. So it sounded like there was scratching at my door, and I thought it was my dog. And then I remembered that my dog was in my room, and I don't have any other dogs. So that was a bit freaky. Once I came to the realization that my dog was in my room and that there was something else scratching at the door outside of my room.
This was probably like 3 years ago, I'd say, out at my buddy's house. He lives out towards, he lives by Collymount, and we were at his house one time. He lives in the middle of nowhere, like literally the middle of nowhere. And I was staying over at his house one night, and little context, there's been a lot of bad shit. Like, his dad died at his house, right? And I remember the one time me and him and another buddy of mine, we were staying there, and it was like probably like midnight or something, and we were all just upstairs just watching TV, and I heard something come, like, it sounded like someone was like knocking at the basement door, and we were all just like, who the hell could that possibly be? This was like midnight, so we were like, okay, this is weird. So we went down there and looked, and there was no one there. We just checked around, and there was no one. So we're like, okay. Went back upstairs, continued to watch TV, and then we heard another knock at the top door, like on his porch, and we went and was like, what the hell is that? And then it was literally through the entire night we'd hear knocks on each door, like clockwork, every single fucking hour for the whole time that we were there. And I remember when we all finally went to bed, I had a dream. I don't remember like the specifics of it, but all I remember is that I was standing in like this long corridor, and there was this figure that was just standing like right there. It was a she, because she had like really long like white hair, like down to her stomach pretty much, and she was just like staring at me, and I felt like that lasted like hours, but then I like woke up in a cold sweat. I was freezing, like I was sweating, and I remember I looked over because the closet in the room that I was sleeping in was open, and all I see is just this long white hair that you could just, because it was like coming out of the corner, and you could only see the hair, and I looked there, and I was staring at it for probably like 5 minutes or so, and then I just like closed my eyes and opened them again, and it was gone. I finally got up, opened the closet door, and there was just a strand of hair, that long white strand of hair that was just on the ground, and I was like, shit. It actually scared the shit out of me, because that wasn't the only time that I had seen that woman before. Like, I saw her probably a few times after, but then she like disappeared for a while and never saw anything. But then like 2 years after that had happened, I was at my house, and I remember, and I was just sitting in my basement, and there was a tap on the window, it's like a tsk. And I just looked up, and I was like, what the hell was that? Opened my blinds, and all there was just this face that was just staring at me, and it scared the living shit out of me. I literally like basically just jumped back, and then the blinds closed, and I went to go like, what the fuck was that? Open them, and she was gone. And that was the last
Like the blinds closed on their own?
Yes, because they were open, and then they literally just shut by themselves. And that was the last time that I had ever seen her. Probably who knows, I might see her again sometime.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that little spooky video. Hold on, let me fix something. That's better. feel like I could end the video in just as a spooky of a manner. I hope you really enjoyed the spooky video. I really, really do. I had a ton of fun making it and involving more of my friends in a simpler video, but still one nevertheless. And not only that, but this is one of my first times making something with specific lighting, scheduled times, fixing the sound, focus, everything using a legit camera. So I'm pretty proud of this right now. And I really do hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, obviously make sure to hit that like button. And if you have any requests of any other videos you want me to do, you just comment them down below. There is still one I'm trying to get to. Someone wanted me to make a This Is Fine, I'm Fine compilation for Glam and Gore, and she does do that a fair amount, but for some reason when I was trying to find the videos, I couldn't find the ones in which featured those, and she didn't have them in a lot of her older ones, so I'm having a little trouble trying to find those, but I will do my best to try to get that one done. I do remember seeing you who requested that. I will do my best. But any other requests, and just comment down them below, and like I said for the other person, I will do my best to get your requests heard. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much. And I will see you next time. Bye! Sound check 1, 2.
It feels so yummy. No. So stop. It feels cool. Right. Stop. Kayla, you're supposed to start off soft and slow.
I'll wrap it for a second.
No, you're trying to start a fire or something. I like how it's recording.
This is our life.
Wait. Oh, I'm not that bad.
Can I put this as my outro?
Yeah.
Just like in the, like when you put like all the end screen stuff, it's like click here, and then just if you actually watch to the end, there's just this like surprise footage of stupid shit.
Yeah, man.